Welcome back, students. This is your Dean, Count Zevius. Today, we're going to take a look at the Ultra League Remix meta. Basically, we're going to try to simplify this, and I will be doing this together with 4theBattles. Hello, 4theBattles. Can
Hello,
you give
hello.
us a short introduction about yourself?
Yeah, what's up? Thank you for having me. I'm 4theBattles. A lot of people just know me as Kim in this community. And yeah, just excited to come here and talk today about the Ultra League Remix. I think it'll be, I think it's going to turn into a lot of a big XL Cup, but there are some options that'll be cheaper. And yeah, it looks pretty exciting. I'm so excited to see exactly, I don't know, how it shapes up. We're all kind of guessing at this point, giving you an overview and trying to give you your best possible chances. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different options that we will see be able to shine a little bit more than they have in the previous Open and Ultra.
All right. So what is different here is we have most used mons from the ranks aces and up, and these are going to be 20 mons that you probably saw the most of, so you don't really need to go through this Cresselia mirror anymore or an Umbreon mirror. Now you just deal with Mandiba's mirror, which is also
Exactly.
equally bad. But yeah, that said, let's jump into how we think the meta is going to shape up. Okay, so what I usually do is I put function-specific Pokemon in boxes, and whatever Pokemon is at the top is going to beat what's below it. For example, if you look at anti-flyers, you have 3 Pokemon, G-Fisk. That's basically how it is. And for grasses, you have Abomasnow at the top, which is going to end up beating the Ferrothorn, depending on the moveset of the Ferrothorn, and then which ends up beating Meganium, and then the Credilli at the bottom. Same goes for flyers and the water types. The king of the water types is unfortunately another Excelmon, which is Jellicent. You will already start seeing a huge trend of Excelmons going to play a very important role in this meta.
Yeah, I think an unintended consequence of remix, or maybe intended, you never know, is it is going to be pretty XL heavy just because of low usage, low availability. But now that we've gone on in some months, hopefully a lot more people will have access to these mons. I think Jellicent will definitely be huge here just because of the no Umbreon and no Obstagoon is going to be huge. There are definitely still targets for it, but I do like Jellicent here.
All right.
Abomasnow is interesting as well. You have it there, beating the Ferrothorn. I do think it's going to have a lot of positive matchups, and we might see a little bit different movesets just to take care of it. You'll have to decide if you want a Flash Cannon, and also on Mandibuzz. I think that'll be an interesting. I can't really predict exactly what I think. Snarl. I personally like Snarl, but and here especially for the Jellicent, but it definitely handicaps it against that Abomasnow that I do think that we'll see a decent amount of.
Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of this is going to come down to the movesets and depending on what you see more in the meta and what you want to use. Because, for example, having a Ferrothorn with Mirror Shot is going to make it so much more spammy. You will lose quite a bit of the Flyers matchup, which you might pick up with Thunder. So it depends on you. I think you can also pick up the Alolan Ninetales matchup if you have Mirror Shot or Flash Cannon. So yeah, I mean, in the end, we'll have to see how the meta shapes.
Yeah, I guess it does depend how you play the Ferrothorn as well, because Powder Snow Ninetales does okay with it if it doesn't have Mirror Shot. So it's an interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how it shapes up.
Okay, now that we have an overview about the function-specific mons and which mons beat what, now we can look at how these functions interact with each other. For example, you have the anti-flyers, and obviously their function is to beat the flyers. So the anti-flyers in the end end up beating Skarmory, Mandibuzz, Drifblim, and Lugia. For checking these anti-flyers, you then have your grass-type Pokemon, which are going to be a Ferrothorn, Meganium, and Credilli. Abomasnow, unfortunately, is an exception here because these Pokemon do have moves that can hit Abomasnow for super effective damage, and flip this matchup. Another interaction here is between the flyers and the grass types is if you are using grass types like Abomasnow and Credilli, you end up beating the flyers. But as a whole, flyers do have a very, very positive matchup against most of the other grass types that you might end up seeing in this meta. Skarmory, for example, can beat Abomasnow because the weather balls that you're going to be throwing at the Skarmory is going to be neutral.
Meganium here looks pretty solid, especially since Venusaur is not available. I do like the Earthquake coverage move. I'm a little afraid to, obviously, like, I don't think I'd safe swap it. There will be a lot of, I think there will be a good amount of flyers. But I think Meganium is interesting here, just because it's got such a strong move that it can flip a lot of matchups.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the last typing here is the water types. What are the functions of the water types? Water types have like a very multi-directional function. For example, most of the water types do well against the flyers and also beat the anti-flyers. So in the end, if you want to run waters, I want to check against the grass types, and that's where your anti-flyers and flyers come in. So that could be a good core going into the game. Something like Politoed and Skarmory seems very solid, seems very tanky and very spammy. So yeah, that's how these first few typings interact with each other.
I noticed we don't have a fire here, and I think that's probably for the best. I do think it'll struggle a lot here, but I was interested in Kanto Ninetales. Looking at this, there's like a lot. Obviously, you're not gonna enjoy being up against the waters. It does have Solar Beam, but it's not a matchup you're gonna be able to like no shield and get to a Solar Beam. So, but against the grasses and even the flyers, especially with an energy advantage, I was a little interested in Kanto Ninetales.
Yeah, definitely. I should definitely try and take a look at it. But yeah, I mean, in the end, it's also going to be which XL Ninetales you want to invest in, and
exactly, true.
Most of the people would have invested in the Alola Ninetales already.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting to the point where I can almost make a Kanto, but you are absolutely right that I think people will put most of their XLs towards the A9, which I do think has a place here. I'm not surprised it's not banned because low access, but I do think it might have I think it has a little bit of a place here. And we'll talk about it later in the safe swap zone.
Yeah, definitely. One more thing that you guys can see is you will see dotted boxes, and these are usually exceptions. In this case, you have Mandibuzz, which has a dotted box. It just means that it does well against water types, and it also essentially has a very, very strong matchup against the Jellicent. You also have a Abomasnow, which has a dotted box on it, which just means that it loses to the colored, the colored box that it represents. It represents the anti-flyers, so it loses to the anti-flyers as a grass type. So basically, it's an exception. So now that we have, let's say, the circle of life for this meta of one set of Pokemon beating another, and they beating another, X beats Y, Y beats Z, etc., etc. We need to look at Pokemon that can do well against, let's say, most of this. And those Pokemon are basically the counter users. You have Defense Deoxys, Shadow Machamp, and Scrafty. Defense Deoxys is up there because it ends up beating Shadow Machamp, and versus Scrafty it's a little bit more iffy matchup, but it depends whether you're running Thunderbolt or not. So these Pokemon have a very decent matchup against the anti-flyers, against the grass types, and also against the water types. The main exception being there is Jellicent, as you can see with the red dotted box. And the exception to this exception is Scrafty, which can beat the Jellicent.
I think Scrafty will be pretty solid here. If people do, again, it's going to be one of the harder ones to access. That's one I have made a lot of XLs. I have not made a Scrafty. But my first thought when looking at this, the lack of Obstagoon and the lack of Umbreon is going to make Jellicent powerful, and that is going to make Scrafty powerful. And I think Scrafty, if you can, get into a matchup and run away with some stuff, there's a lot on this list that falls to a Scrafty. even a Skarmory is going to struggle with something with a little bit of boost behind it. I was also interested in Machamp, and I was wondering what the optimal move was. I guess it's going to depend on how many Jellicent we see, because I was wondering about payback here. You don't need Rock Slide for a whole lot here. You can actually you can do pretty well with Mandibuzz, at least Snarl Mandibuzz without Rock Slide at all. So payback looks really interesting. It's gonna hit. I mean, two of those flyers are gonna not Lugia. You know, Lugia can take anything without shielding, but I don't think that a Drifloon can take a payback. I don't think that Jellicent is gonna take a payback very well. So I'm interested to see if payback is what going to be the move of choice here, because I do think Shadow Machamp is going to continue his reign as just an extremely powerful Pokemon, especially with a lack of Charmers. And a lack of Cresselia, and so that's why I do think Jellicent will have a big place. But I think Machamp, maybe with payback, it might be the way.
Yeah, definitely. I think in this meta, payback is the way to go. Mostly because you really don't need anything other than cross chop for most of the Pokemon. I think even against the Mandibuzz, you can go straight cross chop and hopefully double shield your way out of that. But yeah, I think payback is definitely the way to go.
I'm gonna have to make one of those, aren't I?
Yeah, I have to check my list. I'm not sure if I have a Shadow Machamp with payback.
Yeah, I don't. I know I don't. I currently don't. I can Elite TM one, but I'm not sure. Well, I'll have to see how it shakes up. I just wish I had a Scrafty at this point.
I'm very close to both Mandibuzz and Scrafty. I think Mandibuzz I'm at 210. XL Scrafty I'm at around 200. So maybe I just power it up to 200-ish and then see what I can do, you know.
Yeah, I believe you don't have to take it away, or you don't need 296 for the Scrafty. So that could be an interesting one, especially with a little bit higher AVs. I have a Hundo I was considering. I mean, why not? It's a Hundo, and definitely can save some XLs and might be able to just use it right away, which is interesting here. It's got a lot of targets. The counter user is just, I mean, counter is always, I think counter is the best move in the game. Not that any of these have Leaf Blade, but counter Leaf Blade are probably the two most broken moves in the game. And we might even see things like if there's not a charmer on the team, I think even a team like Triple Counter might actually do fine here, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, and to be honest, like as Defense Deoxys, you're not really worried about a Charmer because you're gonna outbulk it anyways.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, basically Defense Deoxys save swap and then deal with whatever it is after with Scrafty and Shadow Machamp. Or even like something like Surfetch and Shadow Machamp, because Surfetch has a lot of coverage if you look at
Definitely.
other than the flyers, obviously. But
when I think Surfetch, I think of it as a grass type, just because it's got the two best moves in the game, in my opinion. It's getting to them so fast that I do think Surfetch will be interesting here. It's not that tanky, obviously we know that, so it's not going to be like huge, but I do think you need to worry about it. Consider it a grass type, consider it a fighting type, and those are going to target so much of this meta.
Yeah, exactly. Especially with so much coverage, Night Slash and Leaf Blade basically covers whatever you're weak to, and that's pretty cool. All right. Now that we have taken a look at counter users, which are going to do very well against quite a bit of the things in the meta, what according to me is the meta-defining Pokemon is going to be Giratina Origin. Why? Because one, it hurts, and two, it covers so much of the meta with just being there. For example, if you look at the graph right about now, you will see that it covers the flyers. It can do well against waters. It can do well against the grass type, mostly because of its part dragon typing, and it's also going to do well against the counter users. There are, of course, some obvious exceptions here. One of it is Scrafty. Scrafty is a fighter, but Scrafty is also part dark. Foul Play is hurt, and Giratina Origin is not exactly the tankiest mod that you're going to see. Another exception is going to be the Abomasnow, because it is part ice, and ice is super effective against dragons. But you can always play the Zero Shields and Shadow Ball the Abomasnow and hope to get a shield or Wind Switch. One last, not so obvious matchup is Politoed. Politoed is a water type, but it has access to Blizzard and Earthquake. So either of these moves, if played correctly, can end up beating the Giratina Origin because, again, it's not the altered form. So unfortunately, it's not as bulky as its counterpart.
Anyway, so talking about Giratina Origin, we have over there in the safe swap area, and I think it's interesting that Giratina does have Dragon Tail, and I don't think any of us have seen it in play yet. I know I have never faced one, and so that's a matchup we're going to need to keep an eye on, because I think as a safe swap, you might want Dragon Tail in case you do run into some of these darks, and it's kind of. I kind of looked at the past season as like the Dragon Tail season. We saw it on Groudon, we saw it on Dragalge, and these are just powerhouses where they are. So I think Giratina Origin with Dragon Tail as a safe swap is very interesting to me. And maybe Dragon Tail Double Ghost. It kind of depends. We need to learn these matchups a little bit. Dragon Pulse is not the greatest move, but Scrafty is not Obstagoon, and Dragon and Shadow Ball does hurt Scrafty. It doesn't. It's obviously resisted, but it's not the worst thing in the world like it is for Obstagoon. And with that Dragon Tail, Scrafty is not, it's not the tankiest mon ever. It's pretty medium, but that's very interesting to me. So I think we might see some Dragon Tail if people think of it, because I think a lot of people, including me, have never seen it before.
Definitely, I think DPS wise Dragon Tail would be perfect, but I do like my Shadow Claws. I just don't know. I just prefer it. Super effective damage against Jelly, super effective against Psychic, other Ghost types, and it's actually not a bad damage move either. So yeah, no, I think and it's also neutral against the steals, which probably are going to be used as a counter to the Giratina. But I think it's something that we definitely need to look at is what happens or what changes if you have Dragon Tail against the Steel types, and what changes if you have Shadow Claw. That's something that you definitely have to put on PV Poke. Also, definitely check out PV Poke. It's a nice website.
100% PV Poke's the go. But yeah, I guess it depends on how you use your Giratina as well. If it's like in a position to be a counter at either in a lead or a closer, I think Shadow Claw. But as a safe swap, maybe Dragon Tail. So we'll see how the meta shakes up.
Talking about safe swap, I heard you have some safe swaps for us to talk about.
There's a lot of them. This meta is like so many Pokemon in this meta can be safe swaps. It's almost like there's not enough room to put them all. I think even like Politoed's not over, could be a safe swap. Blastoise could be a safe swap. But really, a few of the ones that really interested me were Drapion. Drapion is ridiculous. If you've played Drapion or played against a Drapion, it's just one or two energy advantage is absolutely broken on this Pokemon, and it will get to Sludge Bomb, Crunch, Aqua Tail ridiculously fast, which is pretty solid coverage here. So Drapion's really interesting to me. Dragon Tail on the XL Steelix. I think XL Steelix could be really interesting here. Just getting a shield, it depends on how you play your safe swaps, obviously what comes in. But a lot of these Pokemon are either going to be able to win a matchup with energy advantage or get a shield and set you up into a position to farm. I think Steelix could be really interesting for that. Pokemon like Nidoqueen, a lot of people will have something neutral towards it. And if you really want that swap, if you really want it, if you set up your team to just no shield win in situations where you can dedicate 2 shields to that Nidoqueen, I think it's going to be pretty dangerous here. It's just going to straight up beat a lot of Pokemon here if you give it 2 shields, and you can get yourself into a position where, say you have a Charmer on a Steel type, and you don't need a shield later. Nidoqueen will be interesting here. We've seen a ton of that last season. Jellicent as well. Jellicent was one of the first ones I looked at when I looked at what was banned, and I saw that Obstagoon, Umbreon were both banned. Venusaur's banned as well. I think Jellicent will have an interesting place here. I do think Ice Beam is probably going to be what you want, possibly Bubble Ice Beam, just because you're going to want to be able to get a shield at least from a Mandy or something like a Scrafty if you are going to use it in the safe swap. But that's an interesting one. We were talking earlier, just off screen, about Ninetales. It was kind of like an either or. I think Ninetales with an energy advantage is going to hit so many. I mean, even like it does fine with Stunfisk with a little bit of an advantage. It's one of the, I think it's one of the less safe of the safe swaps here. But I do think, especially if people don't have all of the XLs yet, they want to use the Pokemon that they have. Ninetales is an excellent pick. It was on almost every trio I made for Ultra last season, and I think it'll still have a pretty solid place here. Some of its targets are missing, but like a lot of its counters are missing as well. Are banned. I think Regirock is just gonna absolutely destroy it. But Stunfisk with the energy advantage, these grasses, but with an energy advantage, even if the Ferrothorn doesn't have Flash Cannon and you use a Ninetales as a safe swap, and they counter swap to that, and you can sneak in some moves. You can get a shield there without shielding. I've been in that position before, and then come in and farm up the Ferrothorn with, say, maybe like a counter user. I think Deoxys is just going to be maybe one of the best safe swaps. I mean, it is in Great League. It depends, I guess. It all depends on the meta, but I do think Deoxys will have a big place here as a safe swap.
Yeah, definitely. I think some of these safe swaps are really interesting. I also put in Lucario there. Why? Because its typing is not too bad. It's fighting and steel, and not a lot of Pokemon in the meta want to take a Shadow Ball from a Lucario, especially if you get baited by the power up part and you want to take a boosted Shadow Ball.
Oof, yeah.
Very few
Not
Pokemon survive that. Yeah. So basically, that's one of the Pokemon that I think could be very useful as a safe swap, because one, you either win back switch if you get the bait, or two, you just go straight for the Shadow Ball and still win the switch, or at least get a shield advantage. It's actually one of those really high attack Pokemon that people are always scared of. It's just basically a Haunter, but scarier.
Absolutely. I pretty much I'm pretty much don't nobody who pairs me in GBL, like, take note of this, but I pretty much, if they go up to a Shadow Ball and I don't resist it, I will usually shield it.
It's the same for me. But the only bigger problem I have is, like, I never bait.
Yeah, never not bait.
Never bait.
One thing we haven't mentioned so far is the existence of Charm. I think it won't be massive in this meta, but I do think it is something to worry about, just because some of the biggest Pokemon are going to be, I think Scrafty and Mandibuzz are going to be huge, and Giratina Origin, as we talked about. And so, because some of the two, I believe Togekiss and Clefable are both banned here, and so that takes away kind of the best options. You can mess around with Wigglytuff. It's not that good, even a level 51. It just doesn't get super high, but it is something to consider if we do see a ton of Giratina Origin. Charm will still be here, but you do have a fair few answers in the Stunfisk, the Skarmory, the Regirock. So it's not going to, I don't think it's going to take over the meta. I do think that Charm will still be an issue, especially if we do see a lot of Steelix, which I am personally very interested in Steelix myself. And when you are a Steelix facing a Charmer, it's not a good time. You have to just land an Earthquake, and you're still going to lose as the Steelix to something like a Powder Stone Ninetales. But if you get into a situation, there's a lot of options for a Charm Ninetales, even versus things like Jellicent. It's gonna do okay. Drifblim is gonna do okay, and then it's obviously going to massacre Scrafty and Mandibuzz, which are huge here. So I do think Charm will be here. I don't think it'll take over, but I do think it will be. We might see a Sylveon or two. Yeah, so all in all, I think it's an interesting meta. I think it's definitely going to be a little bit of an XL meta. But you know what isn't in Ultra these days? But I don't think I don't think it's going to be 100% necessary, especially with some of these Pokemon like Giratina. Machamp always is going to be a force in almost any meta he's in. But again, even if it is an XL meta, a lot of people are going to have access to Deoxys XL now. There are some that are going to be a little bit easier to obtain. So yeah, overall, I think it'll be an interesting meta. I'm excited to get rid of some of these Pokemon. Like honestly, like fighting a Swampert, fighting Melmetal, fighting Venusaurs is they're like not my favorite to fight. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you for having me. Thank you guys all for watching. Be sure to follow the rest of the information provided by my PvP Academia. Always here giving the information we need. It's just nice to be able to kind of bounce off ideas. I think a lot of these things end up shaping the beginning meta, and that's all we really know at the moment, the beginning meta. And so hopefully after a couple days of battles we'll be able to see, but this will give you all an idea just kind of what to expect. So yeah, I wanted to thanks again for having me, and make sure you guys do follow. There is a Discord link, description should be at the bottom. Yeah, so just thank you again.